Holy poops. 3 days in a row. I'm doing a video 3 days in a row. Can you believe it? I can't. Here on Thursday, April the 16th. Yeah. Well, I came home this morning and I wanted to do something with my Pokemon buddy, and to have my Pokemon buddy come out, I have to turn on the lights. So I was like, well, the lights are already on. I might as well make a video. Oh my god, yesterday I ordered Mexican food. I made the video and I passed the... I ate good. I ate good. Luckily I got the video processed and done and up before I passed the fuck out. Like, it was a food coma. A delicious queso-covered food coma. My goodness. And I only ate about half of it, so I'm gonna eat some more when I get done with this. So maybe I shouldn't blab on for too long, so that maybe I can actually upload the video instead of having to process it through Corel, because it cuts it in half. Well, not in half, but anyway. We have another fairly hefty pile today that's trying to fall over as I do this. So another fairly hefty pile to go through, but there again, another kind of half of it is the same thing. So we're gonna do that one first. And that show is Le South Park. Le South Park. I feel I had more seasons of these, but I have season 2, which is open for some reason. The only one. I might have opened season 1 as well. I feel like I had season 1 at some point. I don't know. There's season 3. And season 4. And as you can... If I can get it down there, you can see they're raised up a little bit. So I thought that was kind of cool. Of course, you know me and my fancy packages. I don't have a fancy package, so I have to, compensate somehow. Those are all fancy. And then this one's super fancy. We jump from season 5 to season 10. And as you can see, it's the World of Warcraft. It's them, and then it's their World of Warcraft characters. And them and their World of Warcraft characters. I think this was at a... not a Taco Bell. Not a Taco Bell. I feel like this might have been a Target exclusive version or something, or I found it at Target, and I was like, well, you know me. Oh, what's this? Exclusive bonus disc. The Sarah Silverman program. So I have that as well, even though I didn't know I had it. But this might have been, because sometimes what I'll do is when I take the wrapping on the outside, if there's a sticker, if there's like a special sticker, I'll take it off. And I'll take it off, yeah! And I'll put it somewhere inside, but I do not see a special sticker anywhere inside. So, oh, what's this? All the things that I did not know. God bless America. A World of Warcraft Trial Edition. That is also in here. All these things that I did not know that I had. Neat. I might have, and this one was even open. Like, this one was even open. How did I not know that shit was in there? I don't know. I'm not very good with life and whatnot. But yeah, I feel like that might have been a Target version, or maybe I found it at Target, and it was like, because it's a fancy cover, of course, I wanted the fancy cover, so I bought it, and now I have it. And I feel like, yeah, I feel like I had more of the seasons at some point, at least season 1, but I probably sold it at some point for some cash, for some quick cash or something. So, life happens. But that's the Wiener Schnitzel that I have for this South Park. Well, I feel like I have some more South Park around here somewhere, but of course, digging into it. Speaking of digging into it, this is yet another one, soap. That is not mine. It actually belongs to my uncle. I know that, because he's like, oh, I've watched it, and he thought it was the complete series, all 90 episodes of Soap. He thought it was thought it was a show that I would enjoy, and so he lent this to me. He's like, we've already watched it. He's like, I won't want to watch it again maybe for a while. I don't know. Yeah, ain't seeing it ever again, apparently, because I still fucking have it. Like, this is why you don't lend to me things. I mean, like, you never get it back. So, soap. It's an old sitcom, and it's a crazy sitcom. Of course, Mona from Who's the Boss is in there, and Benson, wasn't that the other character that he played? And Billy Crystal was in it. One of them was gay. I don't remember. It might have been Billy Crystal. Billy Crystal might have played the gay character. So I don't. And of course I should watch this. I should have watched this by now because I watch soap operas. You know, classic. I grew up with General Hospital and One Life to Live on in the background, and currently, I'm because I wanted to watch One Life to Live. It got canceled, so I went ahead and watched the end of that. And then some of the One Life to Live characters went to General Hospital, so I started watching General Hospital. And then one of my actresses I liked joined Days of Our Lives, so I started watching Days of Our Lives. And then one of my actresses that I liked joined Young and the Restless. So within the last year, I started watching Young and the Restless. So I was like, why don't I just watch Bold and the Beautiful, and I'll be watching them all. General Hospital is really... I went through that time where I didn't have internet, or I didn't have cable. And General Hospital was really the only one that I've kept up with. I've missed a lot of the other two. But I have more of a history with it, you know, because like I said, Mom used to watch it. Mom and I used to watch it together. So I have more of a history with General Hospital. So, and this show, Soap, you know, kind of makes fun of those tropes and whatnot. Probably very tongue-in-cheek, I would assume. But so I should have watched this by now because I do watch soap operas, but I have not. But if I ever decide to check it out, thanks to my uncle, it's very dusty. And work was dusty last night too, so I keep wanting to sneeze. But I have it with me. Okay, let's see. Where do we go next? I don't know. Let's just go with this. Do I want to? Yes, I do. I'll do this one. How I Met Your Mother. Blah, blah, blah. I watched the first season of this show. So which one do I have? Season 1 and Season 2. So I have no excuse for not seeing Season 2. This show, what was on there? It ended up being on the air for like 10 years or something. I started watching it because of Allison Hannigan. Like, Willow was my favorite character on Buffy and all that. So, but I enjoyed Season 1, and I've maybe seen a little bit of Season 2. But then it's like, I didn't have a DVR, and, you know, I couldn't really keep up with it or whatever, so I kind of fell out of watching it and never quite got back into watching it. And then 10 years later, I haven't seen any of the rest of it, as it were. And it's a shame because I did enjoy the show. I don't know, I think it probably got some comparison to Friends maybe at the time, and I definitely like Friends better, but there again, I've only seen Season 1 and only part of Season 2, so I can't really necessarily say that much about it. But I know I enjoyed Season 1. It was good enough. It was interesting enough. And I did want to continue to watch more of it, and never actually did. So, I do have Season 2 now. I feel like they probably have, because this show has ended. So, what was Season 1? Season 1 was 2005? 2005, 2006, something like that. So, it's been off the air for a little bit. So it's probably on Netflix. I could probably watch it on there, but I have enough trouble keeping up with the shit that I keep up with during the regular season, much less trying to watch something else. Especially things people make me borrow. I'm like, I didn't... It's like, okay, I'll check it out 8 years from now, maybe. I have seen some of this thanks to Mara Lee, and I always wanted to watch it because of Joel McHale. We've got Community here. This is a community college with a lot of crazy characters, crazy wild characters. This was a very cult show, and this has an uncensored exclusive special features, including original Kick Puncher comic book created by Troy Barnes. So, I thought about selling this at some point, because it's kind of like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna, I want to watch it, but I can always check it out later, I can always rebuy it, but then it had that comic book with it, and I'm like, well, I don't know how many of these actually still have the comic book with them, or, I don't know if that was like a limited time special thing, for whatever reason. Something got spilled on this. I don't know. Something got spilled on it. So, luckily it's still in the package, so I can just rip that right the fuck off. I believe the first time I watched some of this was actually when we were in Omaha going to HauntCon a few years ago. Marilee put it on the TV in our Airbnb. That was super nice. We did not get to go back this year, obviously, because there was no HauntCon, Well, it might not have even happened with everything that got canceled. I don't know if it happened before all the craziness, if it somehow missed that, or if it actually got postponed. But yeah, we were not going to make it back for it this year anyway. So, so yeah, Marilee put some of this on one morning when we were there, and so I got to see some of it, and it was well, actually, I guess she put it on one time when we were over at her house for some get together we had. Back when it was okay to have more than 10 people in your house at a time, and which it shall be again. I think because I remember we watched we watched it in Omaha from the beginning again, and I was like, oh, I've seen this episode. There was a couple episodes I was kind of like, oh yeah, I've seen these, but then she just let it play and keep going, and eventually it got to where I hadn't seen it. But it's interesting enough. It's irreverent. Is that a good? It's laugh out loud funny. One of the most talked about comedies of the season, and of course I liked Joel McHale from The Soup, and he has that sarcastic, snarky kind of attitude, and he that's the kind of character that he plays in this. So it's kind of one of those things. Everybody always talked about it, and I kind of always wanted to watch it, never got around to watching it. But from what I've seen of Marilee, I enjoy it, and I definitely should watch more of it. I just have not. Okay, I'm gonna leave that one for last. So what I'm gonna whip out right now, is the V series. I'm not sure what is first. This must be the first one, the original miniseries, V. This is about some aliens that come down. It's an alien show, and they eat rats, and they are lizard people. I am not lying to you. They are lizard people, and they rip their faces off, probably accidentally. I remember this. This is like an old show. Well, this says 2001, but that is a lie. That's when this DVD came out. I'm not sure when the show itself aired, but this is 1983. There it is. There it is. Star Wars and Lucasfilm. What? Does this have Star Wars in it? So 1983. I was 3 years old when this, the original miniseries, that's what this one is, came out, apparently. Humankind's Last Stand. So yeah. I don't know for sure. And then they have, this is the actual series itself. Here, V, the complete series. And then they must have gotten canceled maybe and had, or like maybe a, because here's The Final Battle. They must have got maybe a made-for-TV movie about it. And this was 1984? It only lasted a year? Maybe it only lasted a year. I don't know. Well, I mean, it says complete series, so I don't actually know. Oh, Robert Englund was in this. Freddy Krueger was in this. Interesting. And she's an evil, sexy lizard bitch right there. They did reimagine, that's what they started calling it, this show a few years ago, and the lady who played the hooker, or whatever they called her, in Firefly, actually played this main character here. The problem I had with the reimagining is, I mean, obviously, look at this. This guy got his face ripped off, and he's a motherfucking lizard up underneath that bitch. And, like, you actually, like, see them. I remember as a child, very impressionable. I remember, not very clearly, but they ate a rat. Because, it's the 80s, and who gave a fuck, really. The reimagining tried to be a little bit too serious. I mean, this could obviously be maybe a little bit cheesy, maybe a little over the top, but I think that's kind of what made it fun, and that's kind of I think the same criticisms that people or complaints that people had about the reimagining of Battlestar Galactica was that the original series was kind of fun and sci-fi cheese, and but then they took it like a super dark gritty kind of way. I don't necessarily know that the reimagining of V was gritty, very gritty. Maybe they tried to be gritty, but they weren't very good at it. I don't know, but they definitely you never saw the lizard people. They never ripped their faces off. It was less action and more kind of political espionage kind of thing. But there again, I haven't watched the original series as much. I haven't reintroduced myself to it, so I don't necessarily remember it. I just remember, obviously, that's a little bit more fun and crazy than, some political espionage. But, so I definitely need to rewatch this at some point. And I can, because I have the whole motherfucking thing. You know me. I'm a terrible crap. Now, the last entry that I have is one of my favorite shows ever. My favorite show ever is Buffy. It became Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and this is a very close second. It is Harper's Island, and it has a flashy, shiny slipcover, the DVD edition. And unfortunately, this only lasted one season. It did get the whole season. And unfortunately, the last episode was one of those that was kind of... this family, blah, 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 they go out to Harper's Island for a wedding. And Abby, I always wanted to get a shirt made that says, my name is Abby Mills, because that's how, every episode starts. That's, the recap, whatever. And she used to live on the island, and she's coming back for, a wedding and blah, 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 blah. So there's, old flames and old people. And, but the selling point of this show was that a character, somebody would die in every single episode. And they delivered. They held up their promise. And it's one of those things where some of the people that they start killing off pretty early, you think they're going to be main characters, but you are wrong. You are wrong, sir or madam, whichever. They do some crazy things in this show. And they knew they only had 13 episodes. And it starts off kind of slow, and because it kind of has to build up, but then there's an episode that happens that it's kind of there's still some people who try to be in denial, but they're some weird shit is going down here. What the fuck just happened? What the fuck was that? So it kind of starts this catalyst of people figuring out, hey, there's some fucking shit going down, because of course it's kind of the early slasher film. It's kind of oh, I haven't seen blah, 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 blah in a while. Oh, well, maybe they're in their room on the other side of the island, or maybe, blah, 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 But then there comes a point where they cannot deny that some weird shit is going down, and that's what they fucking deliver. Because, some episodes later on, you lose more than one character at a time, and it gets pretty crazy later on, and of course, as time goes on, the characters that you've gotten to know and the deaths that happen start hurting a lot more as time goes on, because these are characters that you they've survived up until this point, and then they didn't survive. It's kind of one of those things. You get very attached to the characters, and then they're yoink, they done, son. So this is one of my favorite shows ever, because it's such an interesting, not interesting, whatever the fuck I just said. It's such a great ride, especially the first time you ever watch it. Unfortunately, I kind of with Chuck, I have a problem with the whole last season. with this show, unfortunately, the last episode kind of, I feel, rushes things a little bit. But, I guess, it was, they had so much to get up to until that point, I guess, or whatever, or, held off until that point, and then it's kind of like, oh, well, we only have one episode to, like, resolve everything, or whatever, so it's kind of like, I kind of feel the last episode was rushed a little bit, but it's still so worth it. So it's like 13 episodes, I think. Yes, all 13 episodes. Watch them one by one or all at once, whatever you want to do. I think watching them all at once is cheating. Not a binge watcher, it's cheating. Because it's kind of like, I had to wait and to see what happened next. Though there was a couple times where I got behind and I, maybe watched an episode or two together just to catch up. It has Katie Cassidy. She's the wife, and Christopher Gorham, or Gorham, however you say his name. He's the husband. And Bobby Singer from Supernatural is in this. But yeah, it's there's a good mystery. There's a good, and it's kind of one of those things like, somebody's died, like every single episode, every 13 episodes, like there is a death every single episode, like they do not lie to you, okay? Just so you know, it's not just a tagline, they mean it. So, you're like, okay, who's going to die this episode? And it's kind of like, oh, maybe if they knock one off early, you're like, okay, well, that's fine. And then it's kind of like, they kill, another one or two before the episode is done, and you're like, oh, like, be careful, you never know who might get it when. And so Harper's Island, is definitely, like, I wish it had gotten so many more seasons. I think they said that it kind of would have been kind of an anthology series, maybe, if they had gotten a season 2. Like, maybe they wouldn't have revisited the same characters. It might have been, new people or whatever. If I remember correctly, but like I wish it's kind of like, and there's a Canadian, I think it's a Canadian show. They have it on Netflix, but it's called Slasher, and I mean they've proven, and that this is kind of like Harper's Island Slasher. It's very similar in that in Slasher there's a fucking slasher, and that's. That deals with different characters and different situations, and it kind of like American Horror Story. They use a lot of the same actors and actresses, but it's different characters every time and a different setup and a different storyline and whatever and blah 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 blah. So Slasher has proven. Slasher has gone on to do what Harper's Island should have been able to do, and it's just a shame that it didn't, because it was so good. It was so good. Especially, like I said, if watching it for the first time. Maybe watching it for the second time would be a little bit of a letdown, because it's kind of like, oh yeah, I remember that happened, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't remember it exactly, but I definitely know some of the stuff that happened in this that, took me by surprise, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, or some things that I was like maybe hoping somebody would be okay, and then they weren't, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, like, it's a ride. Harper's Island is a ride, and I suggest you at least ride it once. If this is your murder mysteries and kind of slasher kind of horror in some ways, suspense kind of things is your jam, Harper's Island will definitely fill your bill. I think it's foot your bill. They'll do something to your bill, and your bill will be happy. But anyway, so that's one of, and I just dropped it. Almost knocked over the whole thing. So, yeah, and I want to go, I don't know what was on Community, but I want to go wash that off my hands, and get some Mexican food. So I'm going to use this hand to turn off the camera, and I will see you for what I see you.